Either the inspector of police, they can summon the director of criminal, the DCI. They can summon anyone to carry out investigation and question and to understand what went on and get to the root of the matter. But the unfortunate part is that we have a group of people, I think, after they lost their legitimacy on the 25th of June, they forgot about their role. And that explains why they have been in a spree of trying to defend themselves instead of addressing an insecurity issue in the country where people are disappearing, people are being killed. We have never even seen the police boss Nairobi area being questioned about the disappearance or of the gentleman who was allegedly involved in the murders in Kware. So nobody has ever been held accountable to explain the whereabouts of this kind of people where they disappeared to. Nobody has ever been called to explain about the issues or even action taken against them about the people who were killed during the Maandamano in last year, 2024 June. No one has ever been held accountable. So we have a government, that is the legislature and the executive, which is hell-bent to ensure that they do not address the concerns of insecurity in this country. And that's why they will take it as a political joke in the podium to discuss about giving it a joke that Gachagua is abducting, who is abducting people. And you sit there and wonder, is Gachagua the one running the government? Because if he is, then they should allow him to be in State House. But because they are the ones who are running the government and receiving our taxes, the inspector of police should not be allowed to stand anywhere and tell us that he doesn't know where Kenyans are or where Kenyans have been. Parliament should be acting in terms of summoning the Inspector General of Police to understand what measures have been taken in place. Have we narrowed down to understand where these young people have been taken to and who took them? Which is this squad which has been taking our young people and abducting our young people across because their faces can be picked from the camera. So I want to believe the resources that we have given this in terms of billions to the NIS and the police department are sufficient enough to ensure that they're able to figure out who are these people. But instead, they have failed to do so, and that's why I tend to believe what Rigathi Gachagua says, that they are answering to the president. They have the protection of the State House, because if they didn't have the protection of the State House, we should be seeing action and heads rolling. Now,
fair enough. Before you talk about the president, Mr. Sosione, I want to ask you one more question, Wakili. When activist Bob Njagi and the Longton brothers were abducted around September last year, they were moved from one place to another, blindfolded, and they were only released when hours before the then acting Inspector General of Police, that was Gilbert Masengeli, was supposed to appear in court. Now, attributing that and what happened yesterday, the release of the 5 gentlemen happened just hours before a new wave of demonstrations were scheduled to happen here in the country. Do you read malice?
A lot of it, and that's why I'm telling you, a lot of hypocrisy in terms of these people know what they're doing.
Does it also give a clue of who the abductors could be?
They are the state machineries. That one we can never even guess at who are the abductors, because the state, we have given them the money. We have a social contract with the government. That's why we pay taxes. That's why the government is going to come after if you don't file your returns, because they're expecting you to pay taxes. That's why they put it as a mandatory payment in terms when you're buying your goods and receiving services. So we have a social contract, and in that social contract, they're supposed to provide security. So you cannot leave your guard to be managing your homestead. Then they tell you they never saw anyone walk in. It is either them who stole, or they know who did it. So it is either the state which is doing it, or they know who is doing it. And that's why they have not taken any action. When they have been summoned to appear in court and give an explanation, from nowhere, 5 young people are released. The last time we saw the same situation happen. So it is a tendency that has been witnessed, and I think we cannot sit pretty and watch this thing. We cannot sit pretty and watch people violate the Constitution and disregard the rule of law, and we just assume it is business as usual. It is not business as usual. And I think some of these guys will finally have to end up in the ICC for crimes against humanity. If they're not going to be charged in our Kenyan system, because the ODPP now has also not been taking any action in terms of following up on these matters.
Fair enough.
And it is so worrying that when you see some of these persons who are supposed to be guardians of the Constitution, who took oath as advocates of the High Court to safeguard the Constitution, have been on the forefront in pushing for this disregard. And I know even in the, very soon some of them are going to crack some furious whip on them.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable Sosion, let me come back to you. You talked about the National Assembly, you know, holding the Inspector General accountable regards to the abductions. Yet again, I'll refer to the National Assembly. The Member of Parliament for Kapseret and Tiati, that is Oscar Sudi and William Kamket, respectively. Their sentiments during a church service on Sunday in Tote, a service attended by President William Ruto, you know, very worrying sentiments. Honorable Oscar Sudi said if indeed he was the Interior CS, then all this nonsense would have ended. You would have dealt with these social media users within 3 days. And that is a worrying sentiment coming from a legislator who is supposed to be, you know, holding a person of the state of Inspector General accountable in regards to these abductions. So how then do we depend on them?
Let us not get disorganized as a country the way we approach this very sensitive security issue. Number one, we are not under some form of colonialism. We are a free and independent and democratic country with one of the most progressive constitutions and the laws, and with institutions which are working, and institutions that are independent. The judiciary is independent. If it is seized of matters that are placed before it. Let me just interrupt you for a moment.
Let me interrupt you for a moment. Let me just interrupt you for a moment. Just a moment, kindly. Yes, you've talked about Kenya being a country under progressive constitution. How can you talk about the constitution as a country and how we have a good constitution when the government in itself, just a moment, disregards the rule of law? The government does not even obey court orders.
When you generalize and say government, that is very general. It's good you become specific. Who in government, which institution, and which individual? Let us be very specific.
These are things on record.
And allow me, Kaitani.
Okay.
Allow.
Proceed.
You've asked a question. Allow.
Proceed.
Before you ask another question. I've said we are a sovereign state. And of course, I also wish to make it very clear. The Director of Public Prosecution, that you know, in terms of law, it cannot place before the judiciary any file if it doesn't have properly investigated information and data. And then the buck goes back again to the DCI. So really, the different entities have got different roles to work and they engage in harmony, so that eventually you have a case that you can sustain in court. The independence of our institutions is in the Constitution. The President every year must account to Parliament. The State of the Nation address is not a political public relation exercise. And one item that the President always places before Parliament is the National Security Report. And if I recall very well, the last address of the President, he talked of extrajudicial not being tenable again in this country. And that's the commitment of the President. And I would like to urge Kenyans and the media, pick the cue of the President. The President has made a very clear statement. Now, what has Parliament done to deal with these particular issues, to hold the IG to account? Okay. Whose responsibility is the security, internal security of the country, that of policing? It is the IG. And the President gave it its own accounting powers to be able to do that. That means they have resources to investigate, they have resources to locate where every Kenyan is, they have resources to account what has happened. And the statement of the IG of police, he said he doesn't know who is abducting, it is not the police, and that he said it in the media. Can now that statement be said in a proper constitutional accounting forum, that is National Assembly? You've also talked of some members of Parliament who have talked out there. I want to state very clearly, let us do things constitutionally. Institutions where a member of Parliament can talk and talk serious things is inside the House of Parliament. And it goes on Hansard.
Fair enough.
So we want to see Parliament working within Parliament and dealing with these matters. And the President is always very categorical.
Just hold on.
Very categorical.
Let me ask you one question, Mr. Sosyan. Fair enough.
Of government
let me ask you before I talk to Wakili. Let me ask you, Mr. Sosyan. The president, you've talked about the president's speech during the State of the Nation address, much as abductions, extrajudicial killings. He has pronounced himself not once, not twice. The president shifted goalposts from one, promising that he will ensure that all cases of abductions are dealt with during a football match in Homa Bay County just a couple of weeks ago. Days later, he said, you should ask the Inspector General of Police. Now, fair enough. We should ask the Inspector General of Police. Who is the appointing authority of, when you come to the Inspector General of Police? It's the President. You've talked about the Parliament, how the Parliament should hold accountable, should hold the IG accountable. Now, as the President, you said we should hold the IG accountable. But his leaders, his representatives in the National Assembly, led by the majority leader, are speaking a different language. The leaders of his government, the Speaker of the Senate, is in a way, through his sentiments, encouraging abductions. So how then does he sit back and listen to his lieutenants talk about this issue of abductions as if it's just a meal or something, instead of swinging into action? At the end of the day, the security of each and every citizen is his responsibility.
In this show, let me lay facts to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my understanding of how processes work. One, the president has made a statement, not once, but several, in Parliament, before election, on his election, on his, the day he was sworn in, and everywhere in the State of the Nation, even in Homa Bay, and I'm sure
up to when will these statements be made?
The same thing. And the last statement he mentioned is that the buck stops with the Inspector General of Police, which is a fact. The IG, by the mere fact that the final appointing authority is the president, and that is the procedure for all constitutional commissions.
Now,
whether they are chairman, whether they are who.
Before you engage Wakili, let me rephrase my question. Let me rephrase my question,
but
Mr. Sosyan.
Let's agree. Did you see the IG appearing before the security committee in Parliament?
Let me rephrase the question.
So that then the appointment of the Inspector General is not directly from the president. It is a process.
Honorable Sosyan, let me rephrase my question then, before I engage Wakili.
Yes. You
said the president said we should hold the IG accountable. And that is fine, that is correct. But
and the police,
fair enough,
extension.
Fair enough.
That's their work.
Fair enough. Just listen. Who is the leader of majority in the National Assembly?
Now.
Just who is the leader of majority? One Kimani Ichung'wah, correct? Not once, not twice, in the presence of the president. He's shifting blame. He's talking about... Let me just finish. Let me just finish, Honorable Sosyan. I've given you time. I have not finished my question. Honorable Sosyan, I have not finished my question. The majority leader, not once, not twice before the president, is shifting blame to the former deputy president. His boss, the president, says, hold the IG accountable. If then the president is serious about this issue, why not even direct the leader of majority to summon the IG before the House? That is one serious question. But he'll answer that. Coming to you, Wakili. I mean...
No, you've asked question and then you're shipping.
We've not engaged Wakili for a moment. Just a moment. Mr. Sosyan, we will engage... Mr. Sosyan, we will engage Wakili. Mr. Sosyan, Mr. Sosyan, I will not allow you to answer. Mr. Sosyan, no, Mr. Sosyan, we have to be orderly. Mr. Sosyan, we have to be orderly, Mr. Sosyan. Mr. Sosyan, no, we have to be orderly. No, Mr. Sosyan, Mr. Sosyan, you were once a teacher. How do you feel when you're talking as a teacher?
No, as an anchor. Ask question.
No, fair enough.
Get answers.
You've spoken for almost 10 minutes. Wakili, let me ask you. I mean, is the government, more specifically the president, dealing with this issue with the seriousness that it deserves?
The answer is no. They are not dealing with it with a lot of seriousness. And I'm saying this, the fact that we have not seen action being taken against anybody. The last time we saw Koome just resign without even any explanations, without any action being discussed about what happened during the time he was acting Inspector General of Police. So even currently when the Inspector General of Police has been claiming that they don't know the whereabouts of Kenyans, yet they continue to demand money from Kenyans so that they can work and claim that we're expecting that they know where every Kenyan is within the boundaries of this country, then it shocks us when his close associates people who are supposed to be the president's eyes and ears in various institutions, for instance, the parliament, where his leader in the majority of the leader of the majority is speaking in front of the president, and the president does not find it important to even correct him as the leader, if he indeed upholds what he mentioned. He said when he meant what he meant in Homa Bay. So this regime does not have any intention of addressing the issue of abduction, the issue of extrajudicial killing, and that explains to you why even the Inspector General of Police, who is a member of the National Security Council, which is chaired by the head of state, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has continued to lie to Kenyans that he doesn't know where Kenyans are. And he has failed to be held accountable. And even our parliament has failed to hold him accountable. So we have a government, as I said, which is hell-bent to kill the critics. That's why they want to buy the opposition, and if you're not in opposition, they ensure that they abduct you, you disappear. I've been seeing guys, young people make some funny videos and memes online. But in literature, you don't just look at it as a meme. You look at it as passing information that when you try to address a concern, why the children bursary money is being, someone is misusing the public funds, which is meant for bursary, why someone is misusing the money meant for education, not in a corrupt manner, why people are being killed. When you question those issues, you just disappear. Unawekwa bag and you disappear. And the next thing we're going to find you, Ketani, in Luanda, and your home is in Embu. So you're wondering how you travel 700 kilometers away from your home. And there is no explanation. And then the Inspector General of Police take it to say that we are going to call to look for these people and find out their stories where they were. That's the most, sorry to say, but one of the rude statements you could hear from someone whom you have left to manage your affairs, because it's your guard telling you that they don't know who stole your shoes, they don't know who stole your car, yet they were supposed to be manning it.
Okay, Honorable Sosion, just briefly, do you genuinely believe that the National Assembly, with the utterances of the leader of majority and members of parliament allied to the president, do you believe the National Assembly can indeed summon the Inspector General and ensure that this issue is addressed? Do you genuinely believe so?
I want to request you, to restrain your emotions.
No, it's not about emotions.
And allow responses to come.
Mr. Sosion,
now,
even before you continue, we were dealing with time, so I have to be cognizant of the fact that we are running out of time.
Then allow me to talk.
No, I cannot allow you to talk for 10 straight minutes, Mr. Sosion, because you also have another panelist, but you can answer on that, Mr. Sosion, kindly.
You've taken a lot of time instead of allowing me to talk. One, let us know how to deal with information. Let us not disorganize a very serious issue of this magnitude. Members of parliament are members of parliament everywhere. But the institution where they work in terms of accounting is within the presence of National Assembly, where Hansards are recorded. Public forums are not parliamentary sessions. And the president is not obligated to prefect members of parliament when they make their statements in public forum. That's a fact for sure. That's a fact. They are free to canvass, freedom of speech is there, freedom of opinion, and if indeed you have questions about any member of, in any public officer, you hold them to account at the National Assembly. That is a constitutional fact. And what I'm saying at this point, and the president has said, hold everybody to account. And the president is not going to stop parliament when anybody is summoned. Fair enough. The CS internal security can be summoned to parliament to account. The Inspector General can be summoned to parliament to account all these issues, because the power to investigate, the power to police rests with the IG and the police.
Thank you very much.
And therefore, let us get organized as a country and put our acts together. Let parliament summon IG, let parliament summon CS internal security or interior and anyone else, so that then we have an orderly way of transacting security
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Sosion.
And we support
because of time.
The statement of the president.
Thank you.
And the president has made a statement.
Thank you very much.
Statement.
Thank you very much.
That there will be no extrajudicial
Thank you very much, Honorable Sosion.
And it is good the 6 boys are alive.
5 of them are indeed confirmed to be alive after they were released. We still are yet to know about the whereabouts of the 6th person. But it's interesting to hear that the National Assembly should hold the IG accountable when the leadership of the National Assembly in itself sort of playing politics with the issue of abductions. Wakili, in 30 seconds kindly, what is the end game here?
As I say, and I keep on saying that we must hold people accountable, and there is something we call command responsibility. And the issue is, did you command them to do the act, or did you command them to stop the act? So if you did neither, then you are held responsible. Okay. So it is, if the Inspector General of Police never commanded his officers to abduct young people, then the question is, did he ever command them to stop the abduction? And did he ever take action to stop it? Okay. And the answer is negative. Then we must see some head rolling, we must hold people accountable, they must be charged, and they must resign from their positions and held accountable.
Well, thank you very much, Wakili, for making time. Thank you very much, Honorable Sosion, for making time to be with us this particular morning. That was the new dawn for you on this 7th day of January 2025, beg your pardon. We wrap up the show now. Coming next will be Morning Vibe. Thank you very much. Do have yourself a wonderful day. And like always, God bless.
When it's a Saturday, there's only one entertainment show in East and Central Africa. Arena 254. Join Aisha Wanjiku and Tony Mwirigi for all the artistic interviews fused with amazing entertainment conversations and sizzling hot live DJ